Um, Good morning to one and all present over here. And my name is Sai Kumar. I am working as an assistant professor with RMD Engineering College with the Department of Trade. And I'm going to start with the human rights and handling two subjects, namely human rights and digital logic circuits. And with this basic introduction, let me go with the presentation. Okay, today I'm going to take the topic of what is meant by human rights. And human rights are nothing but the basic set of actions which a person is allowed to do or perform from birth to death, or which can be enforced on a person regardless of his age, creed, character, location, language, which provided it does not create, that means the enforcement does not create any harm to a nation's or state security. So the concept of human rights, it emerged as a major concern after the Second World War because humanity suffered a lot in this era purely because of Nazi Germany and several power thirsty peoples who wanted to become the superpower. And as a consequence, the United Nations was developed. So is this a concept of human rights an entirely different topic, or it is existing from time immemorial? Time immemorial, if you see, means it exists from time immemorial. But what is the specific activity of your human United Nations? It was an internationally accepted set of rules which protects a human against violation of his rights. So certain characteristics of human rights are established to respect the dignity and worth of each person. The human rights are universal. They are applied equally and without any discrimination to all the people. The human rights are inalienable. You cannot remove it from a person. You cannot make a person that he does not have a human rights. No person can have his human rights taken away from him under any specific circumstances or situation. And whatever classifications of human rights, they are indivisible, interrelated, and interdependent. And each of them must be given equal importance, and one is neither superior nor inferior when compared to each other. So three important international instruments which are pertaining to human rights, if you see, means first one is UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights by United Nations on December 10, 1948. ICCPR, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. ICESCR, International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. So covenant, decree, law, everything refers to the same. Okay, so next. Human rights requires a state to take positive measures to ensure an environment that enables all the people to enjoy their human rights. Some of the charters that supported fundamental human rights are Magna Carta, Union of Food Trade, British Bill of Rights, French Declaration on the Rights of Man and Citizens. So some practical examples of human rights are, in UK, the Equality Act of 2010 obliges employers and service providers to make reasonable adjustments for the organizers to accommodate the disabled workers. So people with disability was given a very prime importance in UK Equality Act of 2010. In Norway, the Gender Equality Ombudsman, it focused on providing 4 weeks of paternity leave. You might have heard about the name of maternity leave, whereby when a woman gets pregnant, she will be awarded a leave as well as till her labor period gets over. Whereas, in order to take care of her wife, the fathers were given paternity leave in Norway in 1993, and it saw a major increase of nearly 45 to 70% increase in fathers taking the leave. So human rights we have heard. So what is meant by human right violations, if you see, means denying the fundamental rights from being exercised by a particular human. So human rights defender or human rights activist or a person who individually or with others, he acts to promote or protect the human rights. So the revolts that took place in various parts of the world were in one way or the other carried out to overcome the human rights violations. For example, the French Revolution and the 1668 gunpowder incident, which was a major incident in the England, and the American War of Revolution, the Indian Sepoy Mutiny. So there are several events which could be keep on being enlisted in order to describe about where the human rights violations were elaborated by the people of various sectors and how they enforced their actions over the people and how it was causing a human right violation. There are several events to say. So, but why do we consider this human rights violation as part of the engineering subject? If you see, means human rights violation is a very because humans we are born to each other. We are born to work along with each other and also to oblige each other and also to help each other. We are not born to provide or exercise our authority over another person. So the main concept of human rights is each one is having his own rights, let him allowed to be exercised. So that is one of the main reasons why this concept of human rights was being introduced in Anna University syllabus. And the human rights, it takes a very important thing as far as an engineering is concerned, because as far as an engineer is concerned, he must know what are the set of labor laws and what are the set of activities he can perform and what are the set of authorities he can exercise over these employees. Everything must be known by an engineer because it is his prime duty, since an engineer is nearly equivalent to an entrepreneur. So keeping with this point in mind, it is a very important concept over here. And there are several different types of human rights. So what are different types of human rights? If you see, means natural rights, moral rights, legal rights, civil rights, political rights, economic rights, social rights, cultural rights, collective or solidarity rights. So these are the different types of human rights. And let us go with a case study of human rights violations. The Sepoy Mutiny or the First War of Independence or the Great Indian Revolt of 1857. So Lord Dalhousie, the Governor General of India between 1848 to 1856, he implemented the doctrine of lapse. Under this rule, a ruler who has a natural heir, that means, for example, if your king is having a prince born out of natural process, then he alone has the right to claim the throne of his father. Suppose if your king does not have a child and if he's adopting a child, that adopted child does not have any rights to claim the throne. That is the main concept of the doctrine of lapse. He is not allowed to adopt a child and make him a ruler. Political rights violation. Peasants and farmers were forced to pay heavy taxes, and those who were unable to pay the taxes were asked to surrender their lands. Sorry. So what was the main thing means one of the major violations what the British did means they used to take all the raw products from India, take it to their place, manufacture it and sell it in another name back in India itself at a very higher price. So Indians had a very tough competition with the British industry machine manufactured goods. Next, Indian sepoys were paid very much lesser than European sepoys, and they were ill-treated and they were considered very inferior when compared to the European sepoys. They were given, the European sepoys were given very much importance in terms of salary, pension, promotion, rights to equality violation. And the Britishers compelled the Hindus and Muslims populace to compulsorily get converted into Christianity, and also they encouraged widow remarriage, which was a very thing that were against the Indian traditions. So as per our Indian traditions, widow remarriage was considered a crime. If a girl is, if a woman becomes a widow, she has to get into a fire and burn herself, because that is the only thing. Such a cruel thing was being followed. So this is one of the major case study of the human right violations. And another one, the Nazis and human right violations during the World War I. The Imperial German government caused mass deportation. Deportation means moving of people from one part to another part of approximately 1 lakh men, women, and children from Belgium and France to Germany for forced labor to work in ammunition depots. So during the World War II, the deportation rate was still increased to 12 lakhs. Incarceration of individuals, both the German and foreign citizens of friendly and enemy countries, to concentration camps. Concentration camps means it is a very, for example, it is a place where all the incarcerated people will be grouped and they will be subjected to a strict condition whereby they cannot talk with others. They have to limitedly move within the environment. They cannot have whatever type of food they want. No judicial proceedings, no way of challenging the action, no way to obtain the hearing. So these were some of the greatest human rights violations that took place during the period of Nazis. And concentration camps where the people are treated under harsh conditions without any legal norms. For example, if the Nazis find a person to be against their rule or against their principle or policy, they will be incarcerating him into another concentration camp and ensure him that he is beaten to death. So such type of very cruel acts were being carried out by the Nazis. About 4 million to 6 million people were exterminated, killing a group of people without a mercy. That is called extermination by the use of gas chambers or gas vans at Auschwitz. People who were not mentally stable or terminally ill would be considered useless and they were killed. It was called as euthanasia. About 275,000 people were killed in this manner. Medical experiments were conducted on enemy personnels which completely lacked merit and resulted in the death of the victims. In case of World War II, the action of Hitler was to avenge the Jews, which thereby culminated into a war. Custodial tortures by the police over the incarcerators were one of the primary human rights violations which was taking place during the World War II. Defecation of urine on a person's face, drinking of urine of the officer were some of the torturous actions committed. And with this basic introduction, let me stop my lecturing. We'll see about the different types of human rights in my next lecture. Thank you.